I think wherever God has set our feet, people have been before. And there is a real sense of a place opening up to us if we bother ourselves to find out what has been there before. And we do a little bit of, if you like, spiritual archaeology. How has God been at work in this place where he has now set my feet? And I think we really get an understanding of place from looking at what's been before we can then look at what's now. It makes sense of how some things are where they are, or why there are open spaces, and nobody's ever built on them before. I live in a place where there have been an awful lot of pre-Christian worship, standing stones. There are really ancient churches and holy wells. So holy wells from the 6th century. A lot of medieval churches and pilgrimage routes. And I am finding that there are an awful lot more people who are interested in the ancient, actually, than the Victorian. There is that sort of sense of authenticity, something that feels less institutional, perhaps. And so I think there is a place for going to places that we know have been places of worship, but also not to be restricted or confined by worship just in those places either. But yeah, and the looking back, the understanding, and then the sense of social history, that all history isn't actually lots of dates, it's stories, and people love stories. So if you're able to be on pilgrimage and tell a story of a place, or perhaps just the meaning of the name. There was a lovely worship in the wild that we did from a viewpoint where you can see a lot of peaks. And there's a fantastic little app where you can point your phone and then you see the names of the peaks. And where I live, all of the peak names are in Welsh, and we were able to talk about the Welsh language. We were also able to talk about the meaning of the names of the peaks, and we were very easily able then to reflect about what our own names mean, and who gave them to us, and why they gave them to us, and how wonderful it is to be known, to be loved, to be named by God. It's a wonderful thing, really. So I think actually being able to name a little bit of the history of where we are gives us that deeper understanding of how God is working today and how God might work in the future. It helps us to understand the character of the place that he's brought us into. And a sense of God's continuing hospitality, really, that we've been welcomed somehow into that place where he's set our feet. The other element I think about history is the idea of stability. Many people will know that in the Benedictine tradition, that those who enter that religious order take 3 vows. And the first really informs the other two, which is the vow of stability. The other two are obedience and transformation or conversion. But it's the idea that God has set your feet in that place to be rooted and grounded in his love and to find out more of his nature by being in that community, to be honed by him in that community. That beautiful picture that we have in Psalm 1 of the tree by the stream, sending the roots down into the grounding of his love and his laws. It's a beautiful picture, and makes us feel, I think, less restless, that God may move us on, but actually for now, then we do what is in front of us. That's what the desert mothers and fathers taught us, do that thing in the place where God has set our feet. And here I get much more of a sense, I guess, of that seasons don't happen quickly, they happen gradually. And you get a sense of the cycle of the seasons, and that now God wants me and our family to be here. And we're not looking at the next place that God wants us to be. We are here to obey him and to be physically drawn to a place where then God can shape and hone our hearts. And that is that sense of conversion. And then I think he teaches us about abiding in his love. I have so much to be thankful for in my life, and I don't think fully realized how he was at work through all the different seasons of my life until I look back. And perhaps that's always to be kept in mind when we think about the much longer history than our lives. We look all the way back to what we can find out about where we are now.